And coming to live from the broadcasting house in the middle of Kenya's capital, Nairobi. My name is Giverson Maina. Our sign language interpreter is Karen Njoroge. Now, be sure to join me in the next 1 hour. We update you on the happenings across the country. And we begin with politics. A section of Kenya Kwanza lawmakers drawn from Ukambani region want former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka to team up with President William Ruto ahead of the 2027 general elections. The push comes just days after Deputy President Kithure Kindiki hinted that talks were underway to have Kalonzo on board. However, Kalonzo has insisted in many occasions he's eyeing the country's top seat in the forthcoming general poll. In the Ukambani region on a charm offensive to the Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to ditch the opposition side and join the Kenya Kwanza bandwagon ahead of the 2027 elections. Led by Mola MP Vincent Kawaya, the leaders who camped in Mwingi North during a Boda empowerment event said it was time for the Kamba community.
Na kwa hivyo wakati hata mnasikia sisi tukisema hatuja give up na yeye kiongozi Kalonzo, hatuja give up. Mimi najutambulikana kama mwenye kuongoza programs za serikali hapa Ukambani. Lakini na yeye pia kuna nafasi yake ambaye amewahi kuwa hata deputy president. Na ni lazima nimuulize kwa heshima, tukaribiane. We want to work with you.
To put aside their personal interest and partner with the government to unlock meaningful development before 2027.
Tukiwa hapa tuko katika boma yake. Hatuna vita. Sisi tunaleta mazuri kidogo ile tunacho. Na mtu akipata kidogo kutoka kule anarudisha nyumbani. Si hata wazungu walisema charity begins at. Kwa hiyo ningetaka kumwambia pasiwe na wasiwasi, tuje tushirikiane. Huko nje kuna baridi, huko nje kuna njaa, huko nje kuna kuhangaika, huko nje kuna mbwa mwitu. Tafadhali ingia kwa serikali tusonge pamoja.
In Kirinyaga County, Governor Anne Waiguru cautioned Mount Kenya region residents against being swayed by early political theatrics, insisting that the time for politics is not yet.
Watu wanaweza kuja na wimbo kama hivyo umeona tukiimba hapa, ufurahi, lakini usisahau maneno ya kazi ya governor. Makelele ambayo iko kwa nchi ya Kenya leo, watu ukisikia siku hizi wakilalamika, wametoka maneno ya siasa na kukua na entertainment. Watu huwa wanaongea maneno ya
In Mombasa County, Mvita lawmaker Mohamed Machele made a passionate appeal to the youth to resist being used by politicians for political expediency.
Hapa nyote 600 students wamekuja kusoma. Transparency ofisi ni moja. Tunachukua mkono. Mmeenda kwa kiongozi. Fanywa favor. Ulijaza online, ukapigiwa simu, ukachukua. Sio?
Now, a section of lawyers is accusing the government of attempting to compromise the Law Society of Kenya by appointing its president, Faith Odhiambo, to the Committee on Compensation of Victims of Demonstrations, Public Protest and Riots. The lawyers allege the appointment has driven a wedge and will compromise the independence of the society. They want Faith Odhiambo to resign from the panel.
As members who truly believed in the rule of law and justice for victims, we view this appointment as a betrayal of the values we sought to uphold. It undermines the credibility of the society at the time when victims need us the most. I stand here alone today, not because I am the only one who holds this view, but because many of my colleagues in council have received threats to their lives for daring to speak out. These threats have been engineered by state agents in council, and they are meant to silence dissent and stifle the pursuit for justice for the victims of the Gen Z protest. I am fully aware of the risks that comes with me speaking out today, but I will not be intimidated. If defending the independence of the Law Society of Kenya means risking my life, then so be it, because this profession is a calling and demands nothing less of what we are doing.
And our Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Deputy Director for Education and Public Awareness, Dr. Emily Moria, has urged counties to strengthen their mechanisms against graft to safeguard public funds. Speaking at a training conducted by EACC officers in partnership with a development partner to equip leaders with skills to identify corruption risk early within counties, she urged county leaders to set the pace by leading with integrity and stressed that tackling corruption requires collaboration between leaders and citizens. Kwale Governor Fatuma Achani welcomed the initiative, noting she had decentralized services to improve transparency in procurement.
Urging all counties, especially the top organ of the counties, to form these corruption prevention committees so that we can seal all loopholes pertaining corruption and unethical behavior.
System yetu pia iko very clear na pia kutenganisha majukumu yetu na ya county assembly na kwa wao kwa oversight vile ambavyo tunafanya.
I'm very happy to hear the progress that Kwale has made in terms of fighting corruption and improving service delivery. I think in the end, if you fight corruption, if you prevent the money being lost, in the end it's a better service for citizens, and I think that's what counts, and that is what Germany also wants to support.
I take you over to the Mount Kenya region, where over 35,000 people from Kirinyaga County are set to benefit from a community empowerment program courtesy of the devolved unit. The initiative that includes the provision of 6,500 water pipes and 1,100 fittings for water distribution to homesteads, 6,270 chairs and 63 tents is meant to alleviate the economic situation of residents across the wards in Kirinyaga County. Governor Anne Waiguru hailed the county assembly for working with her administration to make the initiative a reality, saying Kirinyaga County is working diligently to ensure all pledged projects completed and delivered.
Wacha zinitangulie, mimi nitakuja kuona pipes kama zimewekwa na zinafanya kazi. Nitakuja kushirikiana na kina mama nione kama zile viti na tents tumewapatia zinawasaidia. Si ndio? We are providing uniforms, balls and other equipment such as public address system to our youth.
Now, residents of Isiolo County can now report crimes and emergencies free of charge following the launch of a toll-free hotline and a new joint command center by the police in collaboration with the regional pastoralist Peace Link. Speaking during the launch of the new emergency number 0800722180, Isiolo Deputy County Commissioner Edwin Kuria said the initiative is aimed at strengthening community policing and improving emergency response mechanisms within the county. Fadosa Ibrahim Mohammed from the Peace Link urged women and girls who are often victims of gender-based violence to make use of the toll-free line to report abuse and access immediate help.
Wananchi itakuwa vizuri kwa sababu hakuna mtu atadai kwamba hana airtime ya kuongea kwa polisi, na vile kuhakikisha kwamba kila wakati kuna mtu ako tayari, na naona hii itatusaidia.
This toll free number will help the common mwananchi to address security challenges in a timely manner and to ensure that there's confidentiality in the reporting mechanisms.
That number will be free. It will be taken by our officers 24/7, And I urge all the members of public, just report all the criminal cases that are within our areas, and we shall react to them immediately.
Tume launch hii namba juu ya cases of FGM and GBV in our communities. So please, for wanawake, if you have any issues, feel free to call any our numbers. You'll be assisted.
Now, Busia County government has partnered with the Mira Moja, a community-based organization, to provide environmental conservation and climate action education to local youth. The initiative is aimed at addressing climate change challenges, particularly flooding, which has significantly impacted residents of Budalangi. Speaking after a signing of memorandum of understanding at the governor's office, the county secretary, John Oscar, said the partnership signifies a commitment to empowering youth with knowledge and skills to mitigate and adapt to climate change impacts within their community through educational programs and practical training.
To thank the Mira Moja for agreeing to collaborate and to work with the county government of Busia in various areas like education, capacity building, budget implementation, community-based ventures, and very many other areas that we have defined in that MOU. As a county government, we have assured the organization that we will continue to work with them for the mutual benefit of both entities.
As a civil society organization, we'll continue to hold our duty bearers accountable. We'll continue to also make it proactive event so that we are also extending even capacity building and capacity strengthening initiatives to the county government officers, so that as we work for the community of Busia, they get to know that we are serving the same people, we are pushing for the same agenda, and the agenda is better service delivery.
Now, Kajiado County leaders are calling on the Maasai community to embrace education as a tool for social and economic transformation in the wake of concerns over increasing cases of illiteracy. This was the clarion call at the launch of a book titled Road to Less Traveled, written by former Secretary in the Public Service Commission Joshua Ole Polong. The leaders hailed Polong for penning the book, whose contents they say will benefit the community, especially at a time when they are grappling with preserving culture and embracing modernity. In the book, Polong emphasizes the importance of preserving culture, especially the non-violent aspects, and stresses education, saying that education is the key to unity.
Masomo ni kitu ya maana sana, maana ndicho kitu ambacho inatusawanisha sisi wote. Unaweza kuingia kila mahali katika Kenya, kila nafasi katika Kenya, kama umesoma vizuri. Na masomo si masomo tu, si bora masomo, lazima uwe na masomo bora.
Vizuri kwa vile ameandika historia hii yake akiwa bado kwa uhai, badala ya sisi kuandika wakati yeye hayuko. Kwa hivyo haya yote ni mambo ya ukweli ambayo ameandika. Mimi siyajui yote, lakini pale nilimkutilia ameandika vizuri kabisa.
Kiongozi sio mtu ambaye anajitafutia yeye mwenyewe. Kiongozi ni yule ambayo atabadilisha maisha ya mtu mwingine na aonyeshe watu njia ambayo ndio mzuri, ambayo itatukuza Mungu kwa maisha yao. Na nafikiri hivyo ndio kitabu hii inalenga, na sisi wote kama tungesoma pick lessons, mafunzo hapa na pale.
Rongo constituency member of parliament and assistant cabinet secretary Dalmas Otieno has been laid to rest at his Kangeso home in Migori County. Dalmas died at his Kileleshwa home in Migori, of course in Nairobi, on the 7th of September this year, marking the end of a long and distinguished public service career. He was eulogized as a leader committed to national development and good governance. More details in the county briefs.
A somber mood engulfed Kangeso in Rangwe as the late minister was laid to rest. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, representing President William Ruto, eulogized the late Otieno as a peace-loving and transparent leader.
There can be no doubt that Dalmas Otieno was a statesman of rare caliber, a man whose enduring ideas and principled leadership will continue to inspire generations, especially those entrusted with the sacred duty of public service.
Oburu Odinga, representing ODM party leader Raila Odinga, described Dalmas as a sharp debater and a towering political leader. Separately, hundreds of residents in Kirinyaga County have benefited from a community empowerment initiative aimed at improving access to clean water, fostering youth talent development, and strengthening self-help groups across the county.
Natoa blanketi za watu ambao hawajiwezi sana kule mashinani, blanketi 1,000 na leso 3,000. And in Turkana, Katilu Boys High School is dealing with significant damage after the rains destroyed several classrooms. No one was injured during the incident.
Wamekosa mahali pa kukaa, wanakusanyika kwa darasa moja. Darasa linatakiwa liwe na wanafunzi kama ni wengi 45, lakini unapata darasa moja hapa liko na wanafunzi kama karibu 70.
Meanwhile, leadership disputes have disrupted operations at the Eagle Rise at the River Church. The conflict has led to a standoff between the local reverend and the church leadership, resulting in the temporary closure of the church. Finally, residents of Birini in Chalani location, Kilifi County, are appealing to relevant authorities to address the ongoing water crisis. The area has been experiencing a dry spell since the Kwanzai water pan, a water reservoir, dried up 3 months ago.
Maji yanafanya mpaka watoto wetu kwa sahihi wachafu, watoto hawaogi tena, shule wakienda wanafukuzwa, wanaambiwa warudi nyumbani kwa sababu wako na nongo.
Now, parents and guardians in Kuria, Migori County have been cautioned against marginalizing and secluding children born with disabilities. Sounding the warning, Principal Secretary for Social Protection and Senior Citizens Affairs, Joseph Mutari, said discrimination of children with disabilities was denying them access to government services and incentives designed for persons living with disabilities. Speaking at Komo Totobo Special School in Kuria East Sub-County, the peers noted an alarming trend in which some parents were hiding their disabled children from the public, warning the practice must be stopped immediately.
There are many of these kind of children who are just abandoned na wako wanafungiwa katika majumba zao. Ninawasihi kwamba that is not the time. Ile wakati tulikuwa ya kwamba tunalea watoto tunatupa wengine, it is gone. Kuna sheria tumetunga ambao zina take care of the disabilities. We have the most recent act, Disabilities Act 2025, takes care of all the disabled people.
That's a good vision.
Now it's time for business. We go straight to Tanzania, where Tanzania has exempted a Kenyan national from 8 earlier orders to revoke and deny business licenses to non-residents operating small businesses. Its African Community Affairs Principal Secretary Caroline Karogo says the two nations have reached a bilateral agreement after ironing out trade differences, with Tanzania saying Kenyan traders will from now operate without restrictions in Tanzania. Now we continue. Kenya will transition to a quality-based cane payment system where earnings will be determined by the sugar content and quality of cane delivered, as opposed to the tonnage delivered. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says the change is critical to addressing the country's chronic cane shortages, which have left many factories operating below capacity.
Preparing for one of its most significant shifts in decades, from paying farmers by cane weight to the quality-based payment system. The government says the new system will reward productivity and discourage the widespread planting of low-yield, poor-quality cane.
We have tasked the factories to start engaging the cane growers themselves so that we are able to transit to varieties that are grow in shorter periods, but also are better quality than what we currently have.
However, making the switch will require a complete overhaul of existing sugar varieties, as 97% of the cane currently grown in the country is outdated and unsuitable for the new system. As a result, the government says introducing high-yielding, drought and disease-resistant varieties will demand major investments in research, seed multiplication and distribution, a task that will be financed in part by the newly reinstated Sugar Development Levy, which is charged at a rate of 4%.
The estimate that we have as a ministry is actually something like 32 billion shillings that must be infused into the industry in order to transform ourselves from where we are to full capacity and with better variety.
If successful, the shift is expected to increase farmer incomes, improve efficiency in milling, and stabilize the sugar market in the long term. However, the Ministry of Agriculture has not indicated when the new payment regime will start and how it will be maintained. Ndutamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
Revisit our earlier story on Kenyan business people doing business in Tanzania, where Tanzania has exempted Kenyan nationals from its earlier orders to revoke and deny business licenses to non-residents operating small businesses. East African Community Affairs Principal Secretary Caroline Karogo says the two nations have reached a bilateral agreement after ironing out trade differences, with Tanzania saying Kenyan traders will from now operate without restrictions in Tanzania.
Tanzania issued a new directive in July this year that restricted non-residents from operating in 15 sectors that is said were critical to the economy. Dodoma further said the move was aimed at ensuring foreigners operating in Tanzania invest in large-scale businesses. The new directive prohibited non-residents from engaging in mobile money transfers, tour guiding, small-scale mining, on-farm crop buying, beauty salons, churro shops, and establishing radio and TV operations. The order stipulated a fine of 500,000 Kenyan shillings or a 6 months jail term for non-compliance. Kenya protested the order, saying the directive would affect about 250,000 Kenyans living, working, or doing business in Tanzania. Kenya registered her concerns over the new directives, citing inconsistencies with 5 key provisions of the EAC Common Market Protocol that guarantee free movement of person, services, and the right of establishment for citizens of EAC partner states. Kenya businesses in the 15 banned sectors will now continue with their operations after Kenya and Tanzania concluded bilateral talks over the directives, with both governments reaching an agreement. Tanzania says no Kenyan business has been affected by the order and further reassured Kenyan businesses of non-interruptions in future. Kenya is asking its citizens working and running businesses in the United Republic of Tanzania to engage the Kenyan High Commission in the event of any distress and for information. Benson Rioba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Away from that, hospitality industry players should explore how to leverage technology in their operations to reap from improved road networks and connectivity that have opened up new tourist destinations. Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers Executive Officer Dr. Samuel Ikwaye says technology is reshaping the way hospitality businesses engage travelers. Dr. Ikwaye says the upcoming 4th Uganda-Kenya Coast Tourism Conference and Exhibition in Malindi will provide a platform for hoteliers and tour operators to align on strategies that will position Kenya more competitively in the global market.
We are going to discuss and showcase new technologies that are driving the industry, technologies that are shifting how people travel, and we have a special focus on young people, because the young people are the travelers of today and are actually influencing travel patterns across the world.
Now, hiring rebounded the strongest in September as companies resumed recruitments in the agricultural and manufacturing sectors. The latest Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, by Stanbic Bank indicates that the index rose to 51.9 in September, up from 49.4 in August. A reading below 50 points indicates subdued economic activities in a given month.
In the period, the steady growth in employment and the slowing of input price inflation in September helped drive the improvement in business conditions, indicating a renewed expansion in activity, which in turn was strongly related to rising sales and a stabilizing economy. As an overall result, the Kenya PMI rose to 51.9 in September, up from 49.4 in August, and above the 50.0 neutral mark for the first time since April. The index pointed to a fresh upturn in the health of the private sector after a period impacted by political protests and rising price pressures. Out of the firms surveyed, roughly a third, or 33%, noted that their output had grown in September, compared to 23% that recorded a decline. Some businesses reportedly benefited from the effective marketing and investments into products and services. However, some areas experienced weaknesses, especially in the construction industry, where output fell sharply. In the same period, Kenyan firms saw a further softening in the rate of cost of raw materials, labor and other resources used to produce goods and services from July's 7-month high in September. Approximately 9% of the survey panel faced higher costs compared to August, which was mainly due to a rise in purchase prices. However, purchase prices rose during September, which monitored businesses related to a mix of higher taxes, increased fuel prices, and greater costs for some commodities, partially due to short supply. Kenyan companies raised their output prices at the end of the third quarter. The rate of inflation was mostly modest, despite accelerating from August's 12-month low. Alan Oko, Lunchtime News.
Very short commercial break. Don't go too far. Still so much more coming your way. Stay with us.
A goal is an objective. It's a clear picture of what you want to do or who you want to become within a given time frame. Like you've said, many of us have got big dreams, but then some of these dreams are not within the scope of what we can achieve. Okay. So after that, is it realistic?
But the reality is some of these ambitions never come to realization. And we have heard of many people who had great ideas and concepts and ambitions, but they didn't even actualize them.
If you are having this conversation 3 years from today, what has to have happened in your life, both personally and professionally, for you to be happy with your progress?
tope mpaka leo bado mufti wewe yani wewe una nini? Alokuandika kazi ya kujali maslahi yangu ni nani? Na nakwambia fikiria sana lile ambalo wataka kuniambia, manake safari hii ukitunga sitakusamehe.
Acha nikuulize, kazi uliyofanya kuondoa umaskini ni ipi? Kumtafuta mume aliye na pesa. Na waonya mara ya mwisho, muhame ama mtajuta.
Wajua kuwa Jahazi hajakuwa hapa kwa miezi 5 sasa. Au venyewe ya Roho Mtakatifu. Huyu wako kwao bwana. La mufti, hapa si kwao, ana kwao, na pia afadhali aende.
Twende Nzaba. Kuna mtu anatamani sana kukuona.
A world record holder in Paralympics, an icon and a mentor.
I'm happy to I struggled so that many other people people with disability can be able to benefit. We are not yet there, lakini what I can say, we are somewhere. Things are changing. They cannot happen overnight, but I thank God things are happening. We are on the right direction.
Sylvia's world changed in a single moment when she finally came to know the diagnosis.
Embrace disability, mtupende, pende watoto wetu, juu cerebral palsy si contagious, haikushiki, haishikanishani.
Unafanya kazi gani?
Kazi mimi sasa ndio baba yao mheshimiwa.
Baba ya nani?
Baba ya watoto yangu mheshimiwa.
Baba, watoto wako wanahusika na hii kesi?
Ulijuaje ni sisi ndio tuliweka hizo misumari? How did you know? Unajua nyinyi. How did you know?
Sisi si alipata wewe na hiyo simu ya wizi?
Nani?
Unaweka nani kwa kidole?
Ondie, umeambia hii Mbwenya ulikuwa umepigwa. Ukaulala. Kweli?
Mlinigonga nikaanguka chini. Sijasema nilipoteza fahamu. Kati ya mimi na huyu nani alikuipia?
Nyinyi wote.
Si nyinyi wote,
wote wawili.
Mlishirikiana wawili.
Na ndio hawa.
Ngori nimefanya yenyewe mweshe yenyewe nimejutia. Na naomba tu Mbwenya yenyewe kwa upole juu ni siku yangu ya kwanza muweze kunisare.
Now, welcome back. You're watching Lunchtime News here on KBC Channel 1. And now, South Korea is diversifying its measures to help citizens who live alone to address problems like loneliness and depression as the country sees a growing number of one-person households. Official data indicates that South Korea's one-person households surpassed 10 million last year, accounting for 42% of the total number of registered families. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across the globe.
0.1% of South Koreans reported feeling lonely last year. As life becomes increasingly fast-paced, young citizens are less close with their families, and senior citizens living alone are more likely to become disconnected from society. A special convenience store in the capital city of Seoul helps address the issue. The place offers space for lonely residents to socialize, rest and cook instant noodles, and these services are all free. The authorities in Seoul are collaborating with food companies to offer regular cooking classes for individuals living alone, providing them with an opportunity to socialize. Elsewhere, Germany's largest seaport, the port of Hamburg, has registered growth in overall operations despite a sharp decline of nearly a quarter in its import and export business with the United States. Situated in the northern German city of Hamburg, the port ranks as Europe's third largest and serves as a vital hub for global sea rail intermodal transport. Hamburg Port Authority reviewed the port's performance for the year to date and outlined its development plans moving forward. Finally, Japan is facing a shortage of Asahi products, including beer and bottled tea, as the drinks giant grapples with the impact of a major cyber attack that has impacted its operations in the country. Most of the Asahi Group's factories in Japan have been at a standstill since Monday after the attack hit its ordering and delivering system, The firm has said major Japanese retailers, including 7-Eleven and Family Mart, have now warned customers to expect shortages of Asahi products.
The International Finance Corporation is ramping up efforts to unlock private sector potential across Africa by expanding access to finance for MSMEs, speeding up renewable energy investments and scaling digital infrastructure to support micro businesses. The International Finance Corporation Vice President for Africa, Ethiopia's Tafara says the agency is supporting sustainable infrastructure and climate resilience. These emerged during a press roundtable held in Morocco by IFC with senior leadership to explore how Africa's finance sector can unlock and channel domestic capital toward sustainable development.
Africa's future growth depends on mobilizing domestic capital and channeling it into productive investments that build resilience and also create opportunities. So strengthening banks, insurance, fintechs, and capital markets will be crucial to meeting infrastructure and small business financing.
Well, we've identified a gap of 600 million people in Africa without electricity, and having taken the decision that we're going to target reducing that by half by 2030. So by 2030, through our interventions and working with partners, we're looking to get 300 million people on the continent connected to electricity. One of the most important areas for job creation.
Now, the South Sudan government is calling for a downward review of cargo handling charges at the port of Mombasa to make products in the country competitive. Here is Benson Rioba with the details.
Ambassador to Kenya says the $5,000 or 646,000 Kenyan shillings deposit required for each container transporting goods to South Sudan is 3 times higher than charges imposed for those moving goods to other countries in the region.
Total cost of shipping, handling, and clearing of goods is 2 to 3 times the value of the goods themselves, which forces some of our importers to abandon containers at the port.
Con says poor infrastructure coupled with high charges has pushed up the price of products in South Sudan.
Diplomatic responsibility, but also a personal commitment to strengthening the efficiency and affordability of trade for the people of South Sudan.
South Sudan is calling for a review of the charges to align the container cost with regional pricing standards to further boost intra-EAC trade.
This situation underscores the urgent need for coordinated policy intervention, improved logistics infrastructure, and regional dialogue to ease the burden of container management and facilitate smoother trade flows.
Benson Rioba reporting for Lunchtime News.
A new dormitory has been opened at the Nyakome Friends School in Marani, Kisii County to meet the demand for accommodation for some 80 hearing impaired children at the school. Built for 3 million shillings, the facility comes as a relief to the school, which has had to contend with limited infrastructure despite providing care and education to the vulnerable group. The dormitory was constructed courtesy of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya.
We emphasize very much the standards, particularly that we are serving children with disability. We make sure that they have the ramps, they can move in, those who can't, and that any equipment that we put in there is friendly.
Our security, especially on the upper part. We want to come and see this school in future having a perimeter wall. You're getting it? A perimeter wall, so that we have security now, but we want to perfect that security so that we can be able to to have a very safe environment for our learners.
Their impressive start to the season with a new club record as they opened their Conference League campaign with a comfortable 2-0 victory against Dynamo Kyiv in Poland. Here's the action.
It's Gay. Lipped in towards Mateta.
That was dramatic, but this is even more dramatic. Lille goalkeeper Bak Oza dramatically saved 3 consecutive penalties in the closing stages of their Europa League 1-0 win over Roma. The French side led through Hakoun Anna's 6th-minute strike. Roma were given the perfect chance to equalize and earn a draw, but substitute Artem Dovbyk missed the penalty twice before Matthias Sol missed the third chance of the twice retaken penalty.
Nobody near Stein at the moment, the number 14, who is a real goal threat. Good punch clear by Bizot.
Now, drama and more drama. That's where we end our lunchtime news for now. My name is Giverson Maina, and our sign language interpreter is Karen Njoroge. But I want to leave you with this story on crickets. Did you know some insects carry more protein and healthy fats than beef and chicken? That's right. One such insect is the cricket. Yes, crickets. And which groups of women in Marsabit and Samburu counties are raring to fight hunger, provide for their families, and challenge a culture that often keeps them silent. Our environment reporter Picho Chimchai brings you their extraordinary story of resilience of how crickets, small as they are. See you and bye-bye. My name is Giverson Maina. Until next time, have a good day.
At Manyatangamia in Marsabit County, women welcomed us with traditional songs and dances. Their colorful regalia and beads shine as they led us to a project that is reshaping their future, that is cricket rearing. Behind the smiles lies a story of survival in a land where drought has taken almost everything. Cricket rearing has become a lifeline here.
So male cricket iko na tails tatu ambaye ni short, na female cricket iko na twib mrefu. Na cricket moja inazaa more than 200 eggs.
Rosemary shows us how the insects are tended to.
Adult crickets tukiwaweka kwa hiyo incubators, lazima unawawekea chakula, pamba, ile cotton, unaweka cotton maji, na hiyo cotton ndio wanatumia kukunywa maji. So wakati cricket adult inakunywa maji kwa hiyo cotton, bado inataga mayai yake kwa hiyo cotton. So ikipata hiyo upepo within 7 days, hiyo mayai ina hatch, inakuwa cricket.
The mature ones are then identified and harvested.
Itafika mahali adult cricket haikupei mayai. So ukiona haikupei mayai, ujue hiyo cricket imefika mahali ambayo unaweza harvest.
The droppings are turned into fertilizer, so nothing goes to waste.
Unatumia hiyo mbolea kuweka kama kuongeza ile organic mbolea ile yetu tu ya manyata, ile ambayo tu ni ya kawaida. Sisi tunaimix hiyo yetu kidogo, tunakoroga, alafu tunaweka tu kwa sukuma yetu.
A few kilometers into the is another group of women who have cricket rearing as a source of their income.
Na wameanza pia kupata mapato kutoka kwa cricket, kama wanaanza kupata kuku, na wamejua pia maana ya cricket. Tumejua maana mingi, kama inaongeza nguvu za kiume.
The crickets are then grounded into nutrient-rich flour that can be mixed with children's food to fight malnutrition and others for fortification of animal feeds.
Na baadaye ilisaidia sana kwa kikundi yangu kwa sababu kuna watoto ambao walikuwa kwa malnutrition. Tulikuwa na watoto wawili katika kikundi ambao walikuwa wanaenda hospitali, wanaenda kupata Plamnan.
Tuna feed kuku sinanona, tunauza kuku sikiwa simenona, tunauza mayai. Inafanya pia kuku sisae mayai mingi.
The journey, however, is not without challenges.
Cricket vile wanasishika kwa manyumba usiku, ambaye pia it's another challenge. Ni dangerous sababu wakienda kutafuta wanaweza umwa na manyoka na scorpions.
Kama tu tuko na maji, hakuna kitu ambaye tunaweza enda kutafuta huko Meru, Isiolo, Nairobi. Ni sisi tu tushikane na tuweze kubadilisha maisha yetu sisi watu wafugaji.
Acceptance is slow and resources are limited.
Watu walishukulia kama ni maajabu na walishukulia kama